Good day everyone, I'm David, moderator for this webinar. I welcome everyone for today's webinar, which is Employee Working from Anywhere Compliance Issues that Must be Resolved. I would now like to introduce our presenter for today, Vicky M. Lambert. Vicky M. Lambert, CBP, is President and Academic Director of the Payroll Advisor. I would now like to hand over the floor to the speaker. Over to you, Vicky.
Well, thank you so much, and good morning to everybody, or good afternoon, as the case may be in your area. Okay, we're going to be talking about an area of payroll that it didn't exist 3 years ago. It really did not, okay? And that is employees scattering to the winds and working from here, there, and everywhere. That just wasn't the way it was done. Now remember, we're going to talk about all the different types of items that would affect an employee, okay, who is, that we have to look at in terms of state withholding, local tax issues, unemployment insurance. We have also got to look at wage and hour law, sick pay, garnishments, and traveling, because all of these are critical now for employees who are not just working in the office anymore. So we know that the first thing we always look at is, okay, I'm going to have to withhold state income tax. So which state do I withhold from? And so I have to determine if I am actually an employer in that state and therefore liable to withhold state income tax. And Tennessee does not require withholding. So when I have to determine the state income tax, these are the things I have to look at. So how do I determine if I am what they call an employer? So in essence, there are 4 common definitions. Are you paying wages to people that are doing stuff for you or having services rendered within the state? Now, what about if I maintain an office or a place of business within the state? Or do I derive income or take orders from the state? What is the word I need to know? The word you need to know for the day is nexus. Do you have a nexus within that state? Now, a nexus is a link, a tie, a connection to something. You create a nexus depending upon the state law, where residents are generally taxed on their worldwide income. For non-residents, it only matters while you're within that entity. All right, now we have local taxes. So we know what we're going to do on the state income tax, but on the local tax, we have to do whatever the local tax wants. Now so when we get to local taxes, so what you have to do is determine, is it the place of employment? For example, Act 32 would tell you that it depends on when or where they're working. Now, how do I know which state gets the SUI if I have an employee that's working 3 days a week in California and 2 days a week in Nevada, or vice versa? Okay. Well, they have what they call the uniform rules. All right. And these rules are what we call the 4-factor test for determining who gets the unemployment. So if we look at the 4-factor test that they've set up for us on SUI, so let's look at each of these. What is localization of services? Now, base of operation says I always am in 2 or more states, which is where is my boss, my place of direction or control, even though I never hear from them and there's never any control over me. It's very unique to use place of residency. What we call the reciprocal coverage agreement. And again, it's because they share the money. We got to worry about the wage and hour laws now when our employees are working from here, there, and everywhere. The first is the minimum wage. Now, there's also such a thing as tip credit. So tip credit on the federal means that I can pay you less than $7.25 if you make at least $30 a month in tips. Now, the next one is meals and lodging credit. Okay, meals and rest periods. Now, we all know that California is the winner on this one. Okay, we're just going to give it to California. Now, what about rest periods? Those are usually 10 minutes or so of net for every 4 hours or major fraction of their work. Now, how often I pay somebody is totally a state law. So how often do I have to be paid? Somewhere between weekly and monthly. Okay, your closing lag time as well. All right, now the next thing is exempt employees. And on this one, I'm going to basically follow the presidents. So we do have states that follow the federal and have no provision. All right, the other problem we have now is mandatory sick leave, because we are the only, and I mean the only, country that does not have mandated sick leave. Garnishments, they are all done by state. Creditor and child support is what we're going to talk about. Federal tax levies don't apply. State tax levies goes with the state rule that issues it to you. So here are some of the unique rules. Now, child support is not going to be a problem. And why is that? Because the federal government allows us to take extra. The state simply doesn't allow that extra. Now, we have to look out for also when an employee is a hybrid, travel pay is I am going to be paid for my travel. So I've given you a useful link to get started here. This is a site. It's payroll-taxes.com. I want to wish everybody good luck on handling these types of employees. And just remember two things. You cannot tax where they are a resident automatically, okay? And you must research everything. State tax, local taxes, wage and hour law, garnishments, everything, payroll frequency, everything when you pay an employee, okay, especially if they've gone to a new state. Again, I wish you good luck on handling your employees that work from here, there, and everywhere. And I will turn it back over a final time to our host.
Thank you so much, Vicky. That does conclude the session for today. Thank you everyone for participating. You may all disconnect now. Have a great day ahead.